First, it was Jaxon Smith-Njigba who announced that he would not play in the college football playoff. And just a day ago, it was TreyVeyon Henderson who announced that he would undergo surgery that would keep him out of the game against Georgia on New Year's Eve.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Wednesday, December 14th in the year 2022, and this episode is brought to you by our friends at Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. During this episode, we will discuss what Henderson's absence in the CFP means for the running back room, and also discuss what we can learn from how his injury was handled this season. But before we get to any of that, TreyVeyon Henderson's injury this year was not a good one. He was battling it. He was trying to get on the field, trying to stay healthy. And there was nothing he could do that could help him stay on the field consistently, even when he was the featured back for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I saw a tweet from him that showed things were not looking good for him. Well, things were going to be looking good for him in his recovery, but not good in the short term. Then I came across the report from the Columbus Dispatch, which stated that Henderson would be out of the college football playoff against Georgia. And even if the Buckeyes go on to play in the national championship, he will not play in that game either. I'll read the tweet to you from TreyVeyon Henderson, and then we'll also discuss the things that we learned from his discussion with the Columbus Dispatch. Here's his tweet, quote, "As much as I wanted to finish out the season with my brothers, I know God have bigger and better plans for me. It's always light at the end of the tunnel. Be back better than ever. Hashtag keep going," end quote. Now, I saw that first, and I was like, whoa, okay, cool. Like, this injury is serious. I know it's serious. I've heard about the foot injury. I've heard about the issues that he has had. We see the limitations literally on the field in his cutbacks, in his moving, and it's not been good for him. The injury situation for TreyVeyon Henderson was the absolute one of the worst opportunities or options you would want for a kid who broke records during his freshman year, records that have been set at Ohio State for a very, very, very long time. Maurice Clarett set them about 20 years ago now, almost 20 years ago when they were broken. And TreyVeyon Henderson came in hyped up. He was a kid from Virginia who was doing some wild things on the football field during his junior season. Ended up missing his senior year of high school playing the football due to the COVID. And he comes to Ohio State and does some great things during his freshman year. An injury ultimately derailed him, but I do think that this could be something as a sign to come for him next season. Work out, rehab, get that thing healthy, work on the film study, work on the things you can use with your eyeballs and your upper body to get better while you're rehabbing. I think there are things you can do now that Henderson can do now to make him a better running back down the road. This season, TreyVeyon Henderson finishes the year with 571 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. He had 4 receptions and 1 receiving touchdown on the season. That came against the Maryland Terrapins. High this year at 21 carries, 121 on the ground against Wisconsin on that game on September 24th. He suffered the injury against Toledo. He had 4 carries for 19 yards and a tutty in that game, averaged 4.8 yards a pop. So we all remember early in the season there was something going on. Henderson, Williams, who was going to be the better back. But I still wonder how much that injury derailed any type of special season in special moments. Now, I thought for sure Henderson was going to have a $150 in a couple games this year prior to the start of the season. But the injury sucked, man. ankles, feet, whatever it is, anything lower body, especially if you're running, you're playing football. This isn't just any sport in general. You need those lower muscles, and you need those things to simply do your job well. And if you're hampered with an injury, it might be better to be set down. It might not be better to be set down. It's very tricky. He kept trying. You have to give him credit for consistently trying to play. But at some point, you got to wonder if that broken bone in his foot would have been better off healing quicker and during the season. Henderson said that he was never at 100% when he talked to the Columbus Dispatch. And here's some more, some quotes that he gave them in regards to things he was dealing with during this season. Quote, "I have to have surgery on my foot because it's gotten that bad since the third game. I've just been making it worse going back out there. It's real painful. I barely practiced all season. I went through a bunch of different cleats to try to push through it, but the pain was crazy. I really don't know how I was able to push through it in the games I did play in. I just tried to do the best I can," end quote. Think about that. And think about the words that I just read, the quote that he gave. I believe he talked to Bill Rabinowitz of the Columbus Dispatch. Think about that. Think about if we knew those things week 5, week 8, week 10. Think about if we knew all of those details and how we would have actually viewed and analyzed and really properly understood what Henderson was going through during the season. But we didn't know those things. No, the Buckeyes keep all of those things in-house. They keep all the information of 18 to 22-year-old student athletes in-house. And so, hey, we're protecting them. But ultimately, I still believe, and firmly, I will talk more about this later in the show, Henderson may have been better off by not playing the football to properly heal his body. Because we have to realize the body of an athlete is hopefully going to last longer than their career. I say hopefully because some people's bodies end up breaking down and they have long-lasting ailments and things they deal with after their playing days are over. So you have to prepare your body and preserve said body for the long haul. And everybody can learn from this, including TreyVeyon Henderson. Maybe the not practicing thing is weird to me because I always thought, hey, your performance in practice, that's going to be you playing in the game. But at what point is you not practicing going to say, hold on. If you too hurt to practice, maybe you shouldn't play. These are college athletes. He ain't no Michael Jordan. He ain't no Kobe Bryant. He ain't no LeBron, no KG, no Timmy Duncan. He is not he is not that caliber guy, even in college. So maybe him saying he barely practiced I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's keep going. Maybe him saying he barely practiced all season, that should have been an indicator early on. And maybe Ryan Day knew this and said, if I let this out, I am going to get ridiculed and people are going to question why I am making these decisions to play certain players. Food for thought. I'm getting off of my soapbox for now. This conversation is not over about TreyVeyon Henderson because there's still a game to be played against the Georgia Bulldogs, a really good football team. And there are going to be guys in the running back room who are going to have to step up in a big way. Who are they? You may know a few of them. We'll discuss all of them next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode of Locked on Buckeyes is brought to you by our good friends at Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks have put together a delicious selection of various gift packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and take advantage of 50% off site-wide. Plus, use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get an additional $40 off your order. Omaha Steaks has everything you need to give a gift that's simply perfect. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites like the delicious Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Take advantage of 50% off site-wide, plus use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra $40 off your order. Minimum order may be required. Thanks for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your fine podcast. Running back depth. The conversation is not going to go away anytime soon, and it's going to be something that we're going to talk about more leading up to the game against the Georgia Bulldogs. I mentioned we'll talk more ball this week. Excuse me. Last week was a lot of conversations in regards to the portal, NIL, and things that were just very important topics the first week after conference championship games were played. But let's talk ball. And I did not expect to talk ball with this context of running back depth right now. But with Henderson's injury and him saying barely practiced all season, those things there, well, running back depth is going to be a thing. And I do think the Buckeyes need to make sure they properly understand players need to practice to play. The luxury is, I don't think we have any issue with anybody else. There's one guy, but most of the guys in the running back room that might play are healthy, have not had any injuries that have kept them off the field this season. Chip Traynham being one of them, but he came and played in the game against the Wolverines, and I still think Chip Traynham is somebody who should get carries, should get touches in this game against Georgia. The only guy I'll mention without Henderson who I think should be back as close to 100% as possible is Miyan Williams. I still believe and understand he is still in rehab mode, and he is still dealing with an injury, and he is still trying to get back into being at tip-top shape. But Miyan Williams, he'll be the starting running back. I really, really, really hope it's not Miyan Williams who is on a pitch count and limited like he was against Michigan. I hope it's Miyan Williams full go, ready to go. Give that man the rock and let Chop go. I hope we get that version of Miyan Williams against Georgia. I really do. But if we don't, honestly, I'm comfortable with the guys who are going to play running back against Georgia. No matter if it's Chip Traynham, Dallin Hayden. And I don't think what you do as far as who the backup running back is, if Traynham or Hayden are the guy, or that's a competition right now. I think Xavier Johnson and occasionally Emeka Egbuka, more so Johnson than Egbuka, need to get touches at running back. I think Egbuka gets saved for getting those touches and carries because of how special Xavier Johnson can be in this game for the Ohio State offense. I truly, truly believe the running backs that Ohio State have right now are players that, one, the fans can rely on. One, the players of the team can rely on them. Two, the fans can rely on. And three, I do believe all three players can get the job done. And isn't that what you want going into a game in the playoff that can decide if you have a shot to win the Natty? You want to make sure you can trust your guys. You want to make sure you can believe in those guys. You want to make sure that the guys that are on the field have everyone's trust on every time they're on the field. You want that. And if there's a player out there, you may say, no, I don't trust him. Where do you not trust him? Oh, in pass pro. Okay, but he's getting better. Where do you not trust him? Oh, on that counter play, he's always one step too slow. Okay, cool. Let's work on that. Where do you not trust him? His play package is limited. Okay, let's work on that. Okay, you're working on all of those things. 15 practices, 15 ball practices. You have plenty of time to get better, not get everything fixed and to be in the best you can be. No. That's not the case. But ultimately, I do believe Ohio State is going to be A-OK with these guys. Now, some of you might be saying, Jay, do you think it's going to be a Cardale Jones situation where you get somebody who's a third-string back or someone who hasn't played very much and they play out of their mind in the playoff? I don't. There's a big difference. Nobody knew what Cardale Jones was going to do in 2014 in that playoff run. The Big Ten championship game was when he got his first start. That's one thing. But saying he was going to do that against Alabama or even Oregon, and when you look at it, that was a big Zeke Elliott and defensive performance. Cardale Jones did what he needed to do to simply win the game. Great, phenomenal run. Don't get me wrong. I'm still amazed at what he did, but there are other factors there. And Down Hayton got a lot of carries, a lot of touches this season. Had a $150 on the ground. Chip Trayanum, in his first time getting running back touches, had it was like 16 yards shy of rush having 100 on the ground. Completely different situations. But the trust that the team had with Cardale Jones back in 2014, I believe that's the same trust they have and can have with guys like Down Hayton and Chip Trayanum and Xavier Johnson and maybe Abuka or even Mayan Williams in the game against Georgia. You want to have that trust and that belief in the guys on the field. Because if you don't, they might know that you don't have said trust. And if you don't have that trust in them, ultimately, that could be the downfall. That does ultimately mess the team up. Henderson's injury, it sucks. It does suck. But I'm glad that the depth on the team at the running back position is the way that it is. And ultimately, as weird as this might sound, we'll close this out with this. Maybe the injury situation for Ohio State, it could, I'm not going to say it was, it could be a blessing no, I won't say injury is a blessing. It could be a surprise. We could have got a flash of, hey, we are gaining trust in these guys. And so if this were their first time playing in the game, well, I wouldn't call this player or that player, give them the ball 10 plus times. But because we have seen them play so much due to needing to be called up, then to have the next man up mindset, maybe that is what's needed in this game against Georgia. I won't say an injury was a blessing. Nobody ever getting hurt is a blessing. I am not going down that road, but I am confident. You should be confident. The players and the coaches should be confident in the depth at Ohio State, even though Henderson will not play in the college football playoff or even not just semifinal game against Georgia. If the Buckeyes get to the Natty, he will not play there either. What can we learn from how his injury, TreyVeyon Henderson's injury, was handled this season? We will discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the World Cup. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Billiards Plus also can set you up with a brand new top-of-the-line grill that will last for generations. We all know how hard it is this year with the supply chain issues and getting things shipped on time. So when it comes to ordering that one big gift for Christmas, check out Billiards Plus and get there early this year. Pick something out and get it shipped in time for Christmas. It is a gift the whole family will enjoy year-round. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables you can find. Plus, they also have top-of-the-line grills from PK, Napoleon, Memphis, and La Griddle. That will be the last grill you own. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Check them out at billiards-plus.com. Billiards Plus, family owned and operated for generations. So this next thought is something that I have not been able to get away from for quite a long time. It previously came out in a couple sections of this show, but I truly think TreyVeyon Henderson's injury, the way that it was handled, can be a learning moment, teachable moment for everybody on the Ohio State coaching staff, the medical staff, Henderson himself, his family, the teammates of his at Ohio State. I truly think that everybody can learn from this. Because for him to say that he barely played all season, for us with our own two eyeballs, without Ryan Day or Kevin Wilson or Tony Alford discussing and disclosing information about about Henderson's injury, everybody could tell that Henderson was not 100%. Without them saying anything, we could clearly see that they're playing him, and it looked like they should not play him. Not just because for productivity reasons, because the man looked hurt. But for what your player, who was one of your top two backs, who the players have consistently put on the field, for him to say he barely practiced all season while he's injured, his body was not conditioned to play the football. Now, I'm not saying you barely practicing, and some guys can't are not able to not practice and still perform high. I'm not saying that. Like, I know there are guys that don't need to practice, get on the field on Saturday, and can just show up and show out. I get that. There are some people who are gifted in that way. But ultimately, there's a coach out there, and there are coaches out there that say your performance in practice determines if you play in the game. Regardless of production on Saturday, how you perform in practice determines how you play, or when you play, how much you play on any given Saturday. And if you're hurt, there need to be a certain level of practices that need to be completed before you can get back on the field. Does that sound similar to something that I said during the season, right here on this show? That TreyVeyon Henderson, or maybe it was more in regards to Mike Hall, I do believe, saying he was injured or saying he was dealing with stuff. I still think Mike Hall should play more. I think Mike Hall should play a lot, start against Georgia. I still do believe that. I have not gotten off that train. But ultimately, I still am someone who is like this, that if you are someone who is injured or dealing with something, you need to have a certain level of practices under your belt completed before being eligible to return to a game. I do believe that. There are also special circumstances. I get that. Some of you might say, Jay, no, let's calm down. We're all on the same page. But ultimately, the coaches didn't help TreyVeyon Henderson. They did not protect him from himself. And I wonder, was it the coaches that were putting him in? Was it the medical staff who was clearing him to play? Who was it? I don't know. And I don't believe that's ever going to be put out on Front Street for us to know about. I don't. But I really, really, really hope we never have to hear about a player dealing with this, torn ligaments in his foot, who barely practiced all season, who was never 100%. Now, that 100% number, I don't really do much on that, because ain't nobody out there 100%. Ain't nobody in December playing for a national championship who just played 12, 5, 8 games of college football. Ain't nobody 100%. You got nicks, you got cuts, you got dings, you got stuff on your shin, stuff on your elbow, stuff on your back probably. You got stuff wrong with you. This is football. It's a brutal sport, and that's one reason why we love it. But I hope that we don't have to talk about another football player, athlete anywhere, Ohio State, outside of Ohio State. It doesn't matter. Dealing with the things Henderson dealt with and still being put out there to play consistently. I think after his injury, he played 5 of the remaining 9 games for the Buckeyes. Come on, man. Protect players from themselves. Be the adults in the room. If a player's too hurt to practice, think about it. If he can't practice, should he play? Why isn't he practicing? Is it a physical thing? Is it something that's outside of his control via family matters like Isaac Likely on the basketball squad? What is it? Let's make sure we have things in place and procedures in place so that if players get injured and they have things that are serious, should it be something that causes them to shut down for the season because they need surgery to recover from an injury? Ultimately, I think Henderson should have had surgery in the season. for the injury? Yes, I do. Because that to be announced on December 13th, and the game is played a few weeks away now, makes you wonder, why now? The team's getting ready to play for a national championship, and you announce as a player you're shutting it down for the season because you're having surgery. Well, could that have been something that could have happened in November or October, and then have that player still possibly be back and ready and healthy to play? I don't know the recovery from the torn ligament. I have no idea, so I'm not going to sit up here and be a medical doctor. I don't. I'm just saying hypothetical. What if it was a lighter injury and it's something that still needed surgery we can recover from quickly? Wouldn't you rather have that thing happen in season than waiting till now? Just thoughts running through my mind, as I'm sure you have them running through yours. They're coming through your speakers. Leave some stuff in the comment section. What do you think about Henderson's injury? Do you think it was handled properly? These are all things that I do not know because I am not in the room. I don't know what the coaches are going through. I don't know what the medical staff is going through. All I know is he had torn ligaments. He was barely practicing. He was playing. It was clear that he should not play, but they were still playing him anyway. Those are the cold, hard facts, which is where a lot of my thoughts are being formulated while thinking about how Henderson's injury was handled with and when the announcement was made that he would not return and play for Ohio State in 2022. Thanks for stopping by once again. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here on this Wednesday, hump day edition of Locked on Buckeyes. 2 more days left. Trying to get my guy Jeff Hunt back on the show. We'll discuss more about the injury situation to Henderson and other things pertaining to the Ohio State offense going into the game against Georgia. Hopefully at the end of the week right here on Locked on Buckeyes. Have a safe, great, fun day. Enjoy the weather. I say that all the time, but just enjoy it. It's a great time of year. Christmas is around the corner, and it's a great time to be a Buckeye.